Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. Listen, I'm filming this episode a little differently. This is right after the Sunday night game. Usually we'll keep the Monday night game in, but I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Not really interested in the Monday night game. Who is it? Cowboys and who is it? Cowboys Raiders. Yeah, not interested in that game. We're gonna film this episode early and just not really worry about that. Either way, despite all that, guys, I think this is the best week of football we've had. I think this week of football had so many games that were amazing. Uh, I was looking forward to this one. I told everybody, call me later. Don't talk to me right now. I got homework to do. We got cuz you don't know football stuff to do. Okay, so we just wanted to start with that. So of course, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about the Week 11 games. And we're gonna talk about some standings and playoffs. You know what I mean, who's in the playoffs right now, who's not, and then we're gonna get to the Week 12 picks. You know what I mean? That's pretty much how we're gonna wrap this up. But it's gonna be us today. So, as I said, we just finished watching the Sunday night game, which was the Lions and Eagles, which had a lot of they had a lot of implications for the playoffs and in their divisions as well. So the Philadelphia Eagles just beat the Detroit Lions in Philly. They won 16-9. All right, so we're gonna start with the Lions. Jared Goff was 14 of 37 for 255 yards, one touchdown, one pick. Jahmyr Gibbs had 12 carries for 39 yards. Not much there. They took him away. But he did lead them in receiving. He had 5 receptions for 107 yards. Jamison Williams had 88 yards receiving and a touchdown. And let's see in terms of that, they had a half a sack. They had a whole sack. Shout out to Aiden Hutchinson. He had a sack. But no picks. With the Eagles, Jalen Hurts was 14 and 28 for 135 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Saquon Barkley, he had 26 carries for 83 yards. Jalen Hurts also had a rushing touchdown. Antonio Brown, AJ Brown, he led them with receiving with 49 yards, and it really wasn't much there. Let's see what the defensive line did there. They had two sacks. They had two sacks, and of course, they had the pick, which it could have been another one to be honest with you. So this being a defensive game, once again, you guys know how I love defensive games. I love defensive games. The Eagles' defensive line looked dominant against this. They pretty much controlled the Detroit Lions. I'm not sure what Detroit's going to do. Dan Campbell started taking over play calling. I don't know if that really had a lot to do with this. Of course, because this is just the second week that happened. But I will say this: Jared Goff did not look good in this game. I don't think the stats are showing how bad he kind of looked. Whatever it was, whether it was the Eagles defense or whether it was the play calling, he was not comfortable, and that was pretty easy to see. Yeah. So Detroit has a lot to work on going into their next game, but it didn't look that good for them. Now, in terms of the Eagles, Jalen Hurts once again. Now, I will say this: I'm a huge Jalen Hurts fan. He has not looked good the last month, month and a half, maybe. He has not really looked good. So something's got to give. Something is wrong with the offense, and I think it's more of a cultural thing. Now, with that said, the fact that they're winning all of these games and nothing looks good says a lot. I just hope that they're evaluating this and seeing the bigger problem. AJ Brown, the wide receiver this week, was coming out saying how he wasn't getting an opportunity to contribute, how he was not able to put the offense in a good situation. Right now it kind of looks like everybody's in that situation. Now, that could mean one or two things as we approach the playoffs. It could mean something can get fixed and they're going to go on a run and it's going to be dominant. That's kind of what I lean towards. But this could also mean if there's a cultural issue, a play calling issue, something, because it's not the defense. If it's an issue like that, the Eagles might lose earlier than we think they are, and that's just real, But TBD on the Eagles, we'll see. Um, but great win for them once again. But they've been having all these wins in which they looked bad, and you can't discount that. You cannot discount that. So going into the rest of the games, interesting that we ended there with the. Jeez, this thing be bugging out. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to look at the scores real quick, and like I don't know if y'all ever like have like scores when y'all look at them and stuff like that. Like it kind of like toggles back like to like weeks that it's like it's kind of annoying, Especially when I'm trying to do stuff on a time frame. It's kind of annoying, but we get it together no matter what. So we're going from the Detroit Lions losing this game to the Bears in their game, the Bears versus the Vikings in their game. Hint, hint, this had divisional implications against the Vikings. So, with that said, Detroit Bears, they've been looking pretty good lately. So is Caleb Williams. I've been noticing that. I have been noticing Caleb. Caleb, I've been saying a lot, and I'm going to continue to say it because we thought that you were great, and I still think that you're great. So I'm going to continue to say it. With that said, Caleb's been responding lately, and I like what I'm seeing from him. Uh, the Chicago Bears beat the Minnesota Vikings in a divisional game. They won 19-17 against the Minnesota Vikings. With the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy was 16 of 32 for 150 yards, one touchdown, and two picks. Aaron Jones had 70 yards rushing, and Jordan Mason had a rushing touchdown, but he had 45 yards rushing. Justin Jefferson led them with 61 yards receiving. Jordan Addison had the receiving touchdown. Now let's see what they did with their defense. They had one sack, two sacks. So they had two sacks and no picks. So Caleb Williams, he was 16 and 32, 193 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. DeAndre Swift had 21 carries for 90 yards. He did what he was supposed to do. And here's a new name. Kyle Manage. He had a rushing touchdown too. That's the first time I've said that name on Cause You Don't Know Football. So once again, give me a second because some of these names be crazy. So give me a second to get all of this together. Um, Cole Kmet led them with 45 yards receiving. Roma Dunze had 41 yards receiving. Colston Loveland, the rookie tight end, he had 40 yards receiving. What did they do with their defense? No sacks, but they did have one, two, but they had the two picks. Okay, cool. So let me say this for the Minnesota Vikings. Go back to the draft that J.J. McCarthy was drafted in, and I was on record, and I said I think drafting J.J. McCarthy is going to be a mistake because he was like the third or fourth quarterback taken, and they had took him in the first round. And I caution people all the time about reaching for quarterbacks and just getting a quarterback instead of the quarterback. And when you get a quarterback, you hope that he's going to just it never works out. Okay, don't get a quarterback. You got to get the quarterback. If a guy is not phenomenal, if he doesn't have characteristics that warrant a first round pick, a top 5 pick, don't reach for them and get them there. You're just getting a guy. You're getting a guy who you're gonna force to start right away, and they need time to sit on the bench and they need time to develop. Now, me and actually Jamal, who's one of the hosts on here, we had a conversation about that. It was really a good conversation. It was heated, but it was a good conversation. In my opinion, you can't overdraft a quarterback and just get a guy. And when JJ McCarthy was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, I absolutely positively felt like they were drafting a guy as opposed to the guy. Now, when everything's hitting the fan, the Minnesota Vikings roster is really good. It could contend in the NFC offensively, offensive line, wide receivers, tight ends. Like this roster is a really good roster, except they have a bad quarterback, or at least a quarterback that should sit for a little while longer. But I guess that's what we're going into with these quarterbacks, having that conversation about drafting these young guys and then them failing and then them sitting and then them being great somewhere else. So somewhere in there, uh, we got to start to see it. But God, stop drafting a guy, a quarterback. in the first round. And go, if you think this guy is great, go get him. But stop trying to convince me and convince yourself that something's great and it's really just okay. Now for the Bears. Round of applause for the Chicago Bears. Listen, they look real good right now. 7-3. By the way, they're in first place in the NFC North now at this point. Uh how the year started and how this year is going now, man, you got to speak up. I'm a firm believer. If you're gonna say what you're gonna say when something's not looking good, you got to be just as loud when it's looking good. Listen, Caleb Williams for his first year and a half was not looking good. He was. I went on record and I said when the Bears played the Commanders that we weren't really talking about the number one pick playing the number two pick in the draft because that's always hyped up. That's not what was going on, and it was because Caleb Williams, who was the number one pick, was not playing like that. Well, let me tell you something. Caleb didn't responded, boy. Now, is he going with numbers that are out of this world? No, but you don't have to throw for 500 yards a game to be a great NFL quarterback. You have to have control. You have to control it. Now, the roster is helping him. This defense is playing phenomenal. Their running game with DeAndre Swift is also looking really great, and he's just playing like he feels. It feels like a calmness to him now, where he's not that he doesn't feel the hype of saying, "Oh, I got to be excellent. I got to do this. I got to be Superman. I got to throw this. I got to throw it between my legs and behind my back and make completions to appease everybody." Like it feels like he gets it. Like I don't have to do that. I just have to keep the chains moving. I just have to keep us in second and shorts and third and shorts. I just have to manage the game and not turn the ball over. These are you can kind of see it in his game. So a short sample size of this because I said first year and a half that wasn't looking too good. But very happy to see, very happy to see Caleb Williams responding the way he is, and I'm happy that his career is looking like it's starting to turn the corner. Moving on, Buffalo Bills played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a wild game. This was a wild game, y'all. Like this was haymakers being thrown at each other game. The Bills definitely pulled it out. The Bills, Buffalo Bills beat the Tampa Bay Bucks 44-32. Baker Mayfield was 16 to 28, 173 yards, one touchdown, one pick. Um, Sean Tucker had himself a game. 19 carries, 106 yards, two touchdowns. Rashad White also had 50 yards rushing. And Baker also had a rushing touchdown. Sean Tucker also had 34 yards receiving and another touchdown. But Sterling Shepard led them with 54 yards receiving. Now defensively, they did have a pick. They did have a pick. Um, so for Buffalo, Josh Allen was 19 of 30 for 317 yards, three touchdowns, and two picks. James Cook had 48 yards rushing, and Josh Allen also had 40 yards rushing with three with three rushing touchdowns too. Um, Tyrell Shavers had 90 receiving yards and a touchdown. James Cook had 66 yards receiving and a touchdown. Um, Ty Johnson had 61 yards receiving and a touchdown. They were getting a lot of looks there. And also Gabe Davis made his return today. Shout out to Gabe Davis. Um, he made his return as well. I think he like tore his Achilles last year or his ACL, something, but like he made his return today. Um, see what they did. They had one, they had one sack and one pick. Okay. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. Um, I think no matter how much they're proving the doubters wrong, they're overachieving and stuff like that. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do have a ceiling. They play good team ball. They're going to be a tough out. You know what I mean? They're not really a team that they have a punch that, like talking in boxers terms, they got a punch that if they land that punch, It's gonna be a long day for you. Uh, but like even as I've looked at them, because last year I was more of a skeptic about the Buccaneers and stuff like that. Even looking at like their defense is good. It's not creating the sacks and the turnovers I think it needs to really compete, for like championship talk. I'm talking championship talk. It doesn't really, so that defense I think lacks or has a ceiling to how good it can be. Um, and as much as I think Baker Mayfield, I've gone on record saying I thought that for a period of time he was the MVP of the league. That shit, and rightfully so. And looking at this game, going into Buffalo, you know what I mean, taking all the blows that Buffalo was going to throw at them, and still having what it takes to respond. I think it says a lot about Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they may just have a ceiling, and we need to prepare ourselves for that. When it comes to the Buffalo Bills, I mean, very good win, like very gaudy win. Um, I like that they won a tough game because toughness is something that they've been lacking the last month. You know, just been dominated on the offensive line, dominated on the defensive line. I mean, I'm still not seeing the sacks coming from that, unit. And I mean, not for nothing. I mean, Sean Tucker did rush for 100 yards. So, I'm really not, they're still getting dominated in a way that I don't like. For the Buffalo Bills, they should not be being dominated in. But this is a tough win for them. And I think having Gabe Davis come back, I think it's going to make a bigger impact. Not because he's a number one wide receiver, because he's not. Not because he's a number two wide receiver, because he's not. But because when they match up against teams, Gabe Davis against a third cornerback, I think it's going to give them a real different dimension. When you also add in the tight ends, when you also add in James Cook, that's another dimension that you got to deal with because Josh Allen turned into Superman again. 6 touchdowns. He's accounting for 6 touchdowns. And I told you, when Josh Allen turns into Superman, this team's hard to beat. But he always has to turn into Superman. But he turned into Superman again. And every time he turns into Superman, y'all gonna have problems. Okay? We're just going down the list now at this point. We know what to do. You know what I mean? We know what to do. Okay. The Rams and the Seahawks. Like I said, there was a lot of crazy matchups today, and it's not even done. Like the matchups were outrageous. Yeah, so the Rams are still rolling. They did exactly what I thought they were going to do and winning. Um, they won 21-19 against the Seattle Seahawks. A division game, nice division game. So the Seahawks, Sam Darnold was 29 of 44, 279 yards, no touchdowns, and 4 picks. And they had a chance to win this game too. Believe it or not, they had a chance to win this game. Kenneth Walker had 16 carries for 67 yards and a rushing touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba is still going on his streak. He had 9 receptions for 105 yards, and AJ Barner had 70 yards receiving as well. Now for that defense, they did not do much. Doesn't look like they did much to disrupt. Um, Matt Stafford because they didn't have any picks, they didn't have any sacks, none of that. And Matthew Stafford, he was 15 of 28, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Kyron Williams had 12 carries for 91 yards and a touchdown. Puka Nacua had 7 receptions for 75 yards. Um, and Kobe Parkinson actually had a receiving touchdown. Let's see what they did. Now, of course, they had 4 picks, but they didn't have any sacks. But they didn't have four. They had 4 picks. Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold. If he plays 50% better, they probably win this game by 10 points. So this is what Sam Darnold looks like sometimes. So as much as we looked at them all year, And they only lost 3 games. Seahawks only lost 3 games. So let's not go overboard about this. But Sam Darnold looks like this sometimes, and he'll do this. This is also the flip side of all of these quarterbacks who weren't good, that went somewhere else, had a chance to sit, and now started to have success. Sometimes you forget their ceiling, right? And I think we forgot Sam Darnold's ceiling. And it can get real low. You may not be able to stand up straight all the time. But like I think this says more about the Seahawks as a team, that their quarterback had no passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and they lost by 2 points and had a chance to win the game. Like they had a chance to win the game, you know, uh, had the ball and was driving. So this said a lot. So the Seahawks, I would love to see them controlling the line of scrimmage better, but like this isn't, as far as bad losses go. This isn't a bad loss. You just know you got to be at some point. You got to protect Sam Darnold. Now, I think the what could be bad is that the Rams didn't just undress them. You know what I'm saying? You ever see like games like that where like the team is just undressing this team, like it looks bad. In a regular season, sometimes it's better to lose like that, where you're getting blown the fuck out. It's better to lose like that than lose a close game, because when you get blown out, you know everything was bad. And you got to do, like, everything was bad. Even though you lost by 2 points, everything was bad. Okay? You couldn't score, and you need to address that. Um, as far as the Rams, man, listen, man, the Rams keep going. Matt Stafford, he's doing what he needs to do to win. He's doing what he needs to do to win. You know what I mean? I think there's no question about them winning that division. The only question for them is what's going to happen in the playoffs. And I'm looking. I looked at the Eagles for a second, and I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at that and saying that's going to be a collision course. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're looking at going into the NFC playoffs. Those two teams playing, and I really want to see. I want to see them play better. I want to see them get better. I want them to be outstanding at the positions that really, really matter. Matthew Stafford, once again, is he played a different kind of game than his MVP style of wins. You know what I mean? He only threw for 130 yards, but this is what it took to win. Sometimes in division games, it just doesn't. You know what I mean? Like they know you. When you play somebody twice a year, they know what you want to do. So you don't always get the best offensive output from that. But being able to play a multiple amount of games, you know what I mean? Play a physical style, play a finesse style, play. We want to run the ball and rush with a lot of rushing attempts. We want to throw the ball all over the field. The elements are this, and the Rams are showing that they can win all of those games. And once again, you got to give them that, no matter what. No matter what you feel, you got to give them that. I almost wanted to put the Panthers Falcons game on there, but I really didn't want to. But we'll talk about the Panthers pretty soon. Broncos Chiefs. Listen, man, coming into this game, the conversation was the Broncos. It's been a Chiefs division forever. It seems like with Patrick Mahomes, it seems like it's been their division forever. How long you gonna stand for this, or you gonna go take that division? So the Denver Broncos did beat the Kansas City Chiefs 22-19 in a real divisional contest. So Patrick Mahomes, he was 29 of 45, 276 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Kareem Hunt had 59 yards rushing and a touchdown. Travis Kelsey had 9 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Thornton had 1 reception for 61 yards. That's crazy. And no touchdown. Let's see what they got. They got 1 sack, 2 sacks, no picks. All right. So Bo Nix with the Broncos. Bo Nix, 24 of 37, 295 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. RJ Harvey had 30 yards rushing, wasn't much there. And the rushing touchdown came from Jaleel McLaughlin. Troy Franklin had 4 receptions for 84 yards. Uh, Pat Bryant had 5 receptions for 82 yards. Cortland Sutton had 59 yards receiving. See what they had. They had 2 sacks, 3 sacks. They had 3 sacks and they had the pick. So for the Chiefs, you're now 5-5. The Kansas City Chiefs, you're now 5-5. Now we're talking about if you're going to make the playoffs. I wouldn't get that far ahead with the Chiefs at 5-5. Um, when you look at the rest of their schedule, they may have one more loss on their schedule. If unless you're going to tell me that the Broncos and the Chargers are going to sweep them in the regular season. I think both of them beat them first. I think they will beat both of them going down the stretch. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying they got one loss maybe going down the stretch. But I still think the Chiefs are back. I still think the Chiefs are going to go on a run. I still think that their team. I actually want them, as my Colts have the number one overall seed. I don't. I want them to get like in that 5 seed. Let's leave them for a little bit. The Chiefs. They the Chiefs. They'll get you every time. They'll get you. So that's that. Yeah, but they did lose today. Well, we TBD on the Chiefs. TBD on the Chiefs. Let me continue to look at them, but I really don't have a question. They're gonna make the playoffs, y'all. Like, relax on them. They're gonna make the playoffs. Now the Broncos. The Broncos. I've been saying it, and I'm gonna say it every single week. Bo Nix, you play well. Your Denver Broncos probably represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. You shrink and you don't play well, you're probably going to go home and they're going to know that you're the problem. You've been the problem, and they've been telling you in the media, they've been telling you you've been the problem. Well, today you were not the problem. You had no touchdowns, no interceptions, 295 yards. And I think basically what happened today was the defense, the Broncos defense carried them. They did what they were supposed to do. They played great as they've been playing. Like, they've been top three defenses all year long. And Bo Nix didn't mess it up. I think as good as and as talented as this roster is, that's even good enough, Bo Nix. That's all you have to do. Just don't mess it up. Now, if you play up now we're talking about maybe possibly a Super Bowl winner in the Denver Broncos. You see? But we got to have a realistic conversation about who Bo Nix is. Is he like Russell Wilson was when Seattle won the Super Bowl? Like, do they have to hide him like that? And, or, you know what I mean? Is he somebody who like is like Brad Johnson for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It's like, well, he's not the greatest, but no, he can take the some of these parts and we can move forward and play pretty much anybody with it. And I think he's somewhere in that conversation. But shout out to Bo Nix. Really good game. Um, yep, that was it. Okay. So that's the week 11 games. This was a crazy week. Week 11 games in the books. Let's take a look. Just a look real quick at who's doing what in what divisions. You know what I mean? So let's start in the NFC. Right now in the NFC, in the NFC East, the Eagles are running away with that division. They're going to run away with that division. They have like a 3 game lead pretty much. That's pretty much who's going to win that division. I gotta stop saying so much. I'm working on that, y'all. Gotta fill in the gaps in what I'm trying to say a little bit better. So in the NFC South, the Tampa Bay Bucks are still in the lead. They got a 6-4 record, but the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, are right there. They're 1 game behind them. So looking at a good finish going down the stretch with them. Shout out NFC South. And the NFC West, the Rams are 8-2. They're in the lead. The Seahawks they just beat. They're 7-3. And then the 49ers are 7-4. That division, I mean, it's a tough division. This is the NFC's. The NFC West is a really has been a really tough division through the years. Um, Having three teams, within 2 games of the division and how the 49ers have played with all of these injuries, I said all of them are tough, you know, all of them. And then in the NFC North, the Bears are now in first place, alone in first place with a 7-3 record. The Packers are, of course, 6-3-1, so they're half a game behind them. And the Lions, who just lost to the Eagles tonight, are 6-4. I think all three of those teams probably will be in the playoffs. So I'm looking at two divisions where, well, I'm looking at one division where three teams might get in, probably will get in. The NFC South, I mean, it's possible that they could get two teams in. And the Rams, we're going to take a closer look at the conference games too. And then the NFC West, with right now, just looking at it, I'm like, well, they might have three teams that gets in. So we got to look at the conference standings to really get a really good look of that. So going over to AFC, the Patriots in the NFC East, the New England Patriots, they're in first place at 9-2, and Buffalo is at 7-3, 1 game behind them. I don't know who's going to win that division still. I still got to see. I don't know if we're looking at the Patriots through the lens of they're playing well right now, because we haven't really seen them not play well this year, where we've seen the Bills not play well. So I don't know if we're looking at that, but like, listen, I'm very interested to see how that goes down the stretch. The the AFC North, the Steelers are in first place at 6-4, and the Ravens are right back in it at 5-5. Y'all keep telling y'all the Baltimore Ravens are going to win that division. The AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the division. And remember, I said it when it was 1-5. It was 1-5. No, I'm lying. They were 2-5. I lied. They were 2-5, and I said they're going to win this division. So I believe that the percentages say that they're probably going to win the division now too. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, hurt his hand. I don't know. I don't care, but because we'll see what happens with that. Um, The Broncos in the AFC West are 9-2, 2 games in that division, 2 games ahead of that division, with the Chargers at 7-4 and the Chiefs at 5-5. Now, first of all, I did tell you guys that the Broncos were going to win that division. I said that in August. I said the Broncos are going to win this division. Now, the Chiefs, I think, are going to be in the playoffs still. I have a feeling that the Chargers are still going to roll out of the playoffs, even though they're in the position that they're in right now. I have a feeling that they're going to roll out, and the Chiefs and the Chargers are going to flip flop. And then going to the AFC South with my Indianapolis Colts at 8-2 in first place in the division. um, Jacksonville Jaguars, they have been right there though at 6-4. They've been, a good team. And the Texans now they're 5-5. They're not out of the Texans ain't out of shit. I was saying I couldn't believe at the trade deadline they didn't solidify offensive line, like stop playing. Like I really felt like they could get into the playoffs. Now I don't know what this means for them because they didn't do anything, but the Houston Texans, if I think that if the playoffs started today, they'd be in the playoffs. We're about to look over at the conference standing, so don't worry about that. Let's get this over to the NFC. So in the conference standings, the Eagles are in first place at 8-2. and the Rams are in second place 8-2. Remember they played each other and the Eagles won. So that's they got the tiebreaker over the Rams. So if the playoffs started today, the Eagles would be the number 1 seed, the Rams would be the number 2 seed, the Bears would be the 3 seed. Shout out to the Bears, bro. The Bears would be the 3 seed, the Bucks would be the 4 seed, the Seahawks would be the 5 seed, the Packers would be the 6 seed, and the Niners would be the 7 seed at 7-4, and the Lions would be outside right now. Now, do I think that's going to stay that way? No, I don't. Um, but the Niners, man, they just keep ticking, man. They lost a lot of stuff. Like, I think they could lose the. I think they could miss the playoffs, and Kyle Shanahan still get Coach of the Year because they lost everybody. They lost everybody. So that's that. But with the Lions right there, the Panthers are right there, one game out of it at 6-5. Now, when we start getting down to the Vikings, they're 4-6. Everybody else, they're not. No one's eliminated yet, but I don't think this. We can stop at the Panthers. Is what I'm getting at. We can stop at the Panthers. Okay. So in the AFC right now, technically, the Broncos and the Patriots are tied for first place, but it's only because my Colts are on a bye this year. We haven't played. So if the playoffs were to start today, the Colts would be the number 1 seed because we'd have a tiebreaker because we beat the Broncos and the Patriots. So the Colts would be the number 1 seed, the Broncos would be the 2 seed, the Patriots would be the 3 seed, the Steelers right now would be the 4 seed, the Bills would be the 5 seed, the Chargers would be the 6 seed, and the Jags would be the 7 seed. With but the Texans would be the 8 seed, would be like the first team out, but they're tied with the Chiefs and the Ravens. And then we can pretty much stop there. But Chiefs and Ravens, they're both going to be in the playoffs. So I'm looking at the Chargers and the Jaguars, and I'm like, count your days. Count your days. You're gonna sit out still. Count your days. You're both gonna be outside of the playoffs. So that's here nor there. So yeah, so looking at going down the stretch, the NFC and the AFC, you can see a lot of teams starting to make their move. A lot of teams that we thought were going to be good and didn't play well first start to make their move up. And then you can also see a lot of teams that started off really hot and now they're starting to cool off and they're starting to come back down to earth. So really exciting stuff going down the stretch. Really exciting stuff. So that leads us with going into week 12 games. So understanding where we are and stuff, you can kind of see who needs what, like who needs what to win and who has more urgency. A lot of like now we're getting to the point where you're going to see urgency mean a little bit more than who's more talented. Urgency is going to mean stuff. You know what I mean? So that's here nor there. So Panthers versus 49ers. Listen, y'all. I'm rolling with the Panthers. I'm serious. I think the Panthers are really good. The 49ers are playing very well with all of their injuries. Of course, they got Brock Purdy back this week. So that's great. Um, I just, like I said, I don't think that they're a team that's going to sustain all of the injuries that they had. Um, yeah, they'll start to fall off a little bit. But the Panthers, I think they're really making a push. Do I think they're going to do everything they need to do? We'll see. But this week against the 49ers, I'm picking the Panthers to win. Bucks versus Rams. And this is where it starts to get interesting because I'm picking the Rams over the Bucks again. So if I'm right, I don't know what that means for the NFC South, but there would be a tie. in the NFC South with the Bucks and the Panthers, and I think that's setting that up. Then we got the game. I mean, NFC East, Eagles, Cowboys. The Eagles are going to win again. They're going to sweep the Cowboys now. The Cowboys are done. Somebody tried to tell me today that um, the Cowboys aren't a team that you want to get in the playoffs. Well, first of all, I don't think anyone's worried about playing the Cowboys in the playoffs, but they're not getting in the playoffs either. Eagles, Eagles will win. I'm saying Eagles by 6. All right. So Steelers Bears. So first of all, Aaron Rodgers' wrist. We need answers about, is his wrist all right? What's going to happen with that? But whether he's there or not, I'm rolling with the Bears. I think the Bears are rolling. I think they're a real legitimate team. I think they're a legitimate team now. I think Caleb Williams is arriving now. The Bears, I'm saying the Bears probably by 6 still, but it could be 10, somewhere between 6 and 10. But I think the Bears are going to take care of business. And finally, my Colts come off of the bye week, and we go and play the the Kansas City Chiefs. Now the Chiefs need this game, right? The Chiefs need this game. If they lose, they'd be 5-6. Then they probably couldn't lose another game going down the stretch, but they'd be 5-6. Daniel Jones, I do feel as though talking about quarterbacks with that template, the quarterbacks that were bad first and then went and sat down and then figured out whatever they needed to figure out and they came back and now they're having success. Well, I think the league started to figure out Daniel Jones's ceiling again. And remember, you're going to forget that they have the ceiling until you see the ceiling. The last 2 weeks, Daniel Jones has not really been that impressive. He hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been that impressive. I think the Chiefs win this game. It saddens me to say it. I have a feeling that the Chiefs win this game, but Colts, come prove me wrong on this one, y'all. Like I just need us to play right, and I just feel as though something is starting to move with us, and I just want us to play right. So prove me wrong, but until I'm proven wrong, even against my own team, I got to be honest. Kansas City Chiefs. Well, with that said, y'all, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been everything I needed it to be. It's about like 1 in the morning now, so we gonna have to. That's why we got to wrap this up. But with that said, you can catch the full episodes on Instagram. Instagram, no, don't catch the full episodes on Instagram. Catch the full episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Catch the reels on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We making moves. We all over the place. We doing the damn thing. With that said, y'all, once again, cuz you don't know football. I'm your boy Reek. And like Martin said, I'm going to see you when I see you. Peace.